afternoon, and welcome to the Noon Show with Lisa and Johnny. We are coming to you live and streaming everywhere. The Noon Show airs Monday through Friday from noon until 1 o'clock Central Time. Each day, we bring you engaging conversations, fresh perspectives, and stories that connect us all. Johnny and I would like to invite you to join us along with today's show guest, Dr. Andrew Billings from the University of Alabama Roll Tide. So, for today's conversation, pull up a chair, sit back, and relax. And now, without further ado, here's Johnny.
And welcome, Lisa and I are fresh in from the big city of Scottsburg, Indiana.
Heck yeah!
And a big old shout out to our tons of new friends in Scottsburg, and I have to say the Mayberry Nation, because we've been in Mayberry for a few days, and it was an absolute delight. Thank you so much for listening to us on Friday when we broadcast live. And let's do some shout outs this morning. First of all, I want to shout out to our interns, Gabriel and Axel Rose, better Gabriel's known as Maestro around here, and Floss the Boss, for holding down the ship so well. And letting us and allowing us to get off for a couple of days and enjoy the Mayberry experience. And also a big shout out to John Matthews, who was behind the scenes technically making sure everything went well. So thank you guys so very much. We can't do it without you. And the other thing is a big shout out to Eric Lowry, Russell Estes, the whole Mayberry gang, and for being so unbelievably welcoming. And
that's right.
They made us feel like we were part of the family.
They did. It was just an incredible experience.
It really was.
And, I remember saying on Friday at the very beginning of the show, I said, Johnny, how do we even get here? And your response was I-65, which was funny. But, I meant something a little bit more than that. But it was just such a privilege to take part in this weekend. And thank you all for just welcoming us. It was such a wonderful experience. They put us in the parade.
They not only did that. There's a lot of stories we hope to tell over the next few days.
There's so many. That's right.
But what I think really impressed me as much as anything, they are a family.
They are.
And they made us part of the family. Everything they did, they invited Lisa and I to join them. Every experience, they invited us to be part of the family. Every photo op, they said, come on, get in the photo with us.
I know. And it was just such an incredible feeling. The vibe was, no, you're one of us.
And it just was lovely. And again, yes, folks, I know it's somewhat of a step back into black and white television in the 60s in the town of Mayberry.
Yes.
I understand that. But they believe in the principles and values. And it's just so evident. Everything they do,
it is,
just reeks of friendship and care for one another and love and appreciation and respect for each other.
That's right.
Something that as soon as you leave, you're back in reality and you wish, I wish I was back.
It's kind of a jolt, honestly, because
black and white television
That's
show.
Right, because the nostalgia factor is off the charts.
It really
is. And it's like that the whole entire time, whether the participants are in character, in costume, or not.
Or out of character, right. And we noticed that the last night, they wasn't in character anymore. They were themselves, and they just have so much care for one another, and they made us part of the family. So to Eric Lowry, who is kind of the ringleader and makes it all happen, thank you for the hospitality and all the support and the invitation to broadcast live. And yes, we've got an invitation to go to another Mayberry event. We're going to have to look at it. But up in Mount Airy, North Carolina.
I'm looking at the interns right now.
Which is the home of Andy Griffith. This was 100th anniversary of Andy's birth.
That's month. Right. Happy posthumous birthday to Andy Griffith.
We hope to look at that Mount Airy experience. Whether we get to go, I don't know yet. But to be part of that was a real memorable experience. We won't ever forget it, folks.
No, we won't. And speaking of Andy Griffith, we met Dixie
Mhm.
Griffith. He was so warm and just kind and welcoming. And we had some photo ops with her, and she even sat down with us in a cafe during lunch, and we just had a really nice conversation with her. I sat next to Karen Knotts in church on Sunday morning.
Yeah,
It was
we
an
met Karen.
outdoor event, but it was almost surreal. And
That's Don Knott's daughter.
Don
In case
Don
you
Knott's
didn't know.
daughter. And one thing you don't know, Johnny, I hadn't had a chance to talk to you today. Shout out to cousin Russell. I know his crew is all listening, so shout out to Russell and his work crew today. I did talk to Russell on the phone this morning and said, Russell, please shut me down because I come up with all these ideas. And he said, no, cousin, I think this is a good one. So you and I are going to sit down and meet with cousin Russell. We're
I'm
thinking
sure
about
it'll work out something good.
we may be bringing Mayberry to a little more closer to home, let's just say.
Well, I look forward to seeing what you guys do together.
All the ideas keep coming. I'm the idea bomber around here. So we'll see if it works or it doesn't work. But there's no harm in having a conversation. And I just want everyone to know Scottsburg, Indiana. Mayberry comes to Scottsburg. I kept calling it Mayberry Fest. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your radical hospitality. It was such a pleasure to meet each and every one of you. And I will never forget the experience.
That's true. But even in basically back in T-Town in Northport, again, we're doing so many good things here. We've got Restaurant Week starting up.
Oh,
Visit Tuscaloosa's got 10 days of fabulous restaurant activity. I think there's over 60 restaurants involved.
yeah.
And you're going to want to partake in this because every restaurant's going to have something special going on, whether it's a special dish, special discounts, live music, so many things going on. And then looking down the road even more, our wonderful friends in Northport have got a downtown 4th of July event called 4th in Main coming.
4th in Maine, they
And
sure
so,
do.
you know, we love Mayberry, we love Scottsburg, but we love our community because
we sure do.
there's so many things going on that make our community unbelievable.
You are
special.
correct about that. But 4th on Main, this is an inaugural event for Northport, Alabama. And it's from 4 to 10 in downtown Northport. So they're going to close the streets down, and they've got music from 4 to 10 o'clock. And it's going to be a really great celebration. The main stage is going to be at Billy's Restaurant.
That's right downtown. And guess what? From downtown Northport, you can watch all the fireworks going on over the river that Tuscaloosa is going to be doing in our annual 4th of July celebration. So it's going to be a great night. I think the place is going to be packed and just rocking. I think this is one of the best ideas I've seen in a while. And Northport is so excited, and they are doing things to put Northport not only on the map, but on everybody's mind. Northport on your mind.
Northport on your mind. That's a
And,
great,
I
that's a
just
great
love,
slogan.
I
I like
love
that.
what the mayor and his team are doing to raise the visibility of Northport. And what an exciting, what a perfect downtown place to do this. You talk about Mayberry. Northport's kind of like Mayberry in a lot of ways. It's very special.
Yeah.
Very special.
It's a very nice place. A very, very kind of niche, honestly.
Very charming.
Very charming.
Very, it's like going back in time itself. It reminds me of growing up in my little hometown. And they've got such a charm about it. Beautiful downtown Northport.
I would agree, but don't forget, our friends at Theater Tuscaloosa have their summer blockbuster coming up very soon. It's called Big Fish, and it's running at the Bean Brown Theater July 17th through the 26th. Go ahead and get your tickets now. Just go ahead and call the box office at 205-391-2277 or theatertusk.com. So
And if you haven't seen Big Fish, the movie, it's a kind of strange little movie, but it was made right here in Alabama, over near Wetumpka, in a little place called Spectre. It was a little community put together. It's still there. You can go visit it and tour all the buildings. They're all still there, and along with 40 extra goats that kind of roam around. But don't get near the Billy
I
Goat,
don't
by
know
the
if
way.
they're, yeah, I was going to say, are they friendly though?
They
I'm
are
concerned.
friendly except the Billy Goat.
Except for the Billy Goat.
He's not very nice.
But you know, you bring up a great point. So if you're not sure what Big Fish is about, but you always know that Theater Tuscaloosa does it up right, well, you would be correct. Let's dive into what it's actually about just a little bit. So it is a musical.
It is,
Based,
which is
it's
going to be
based on,
interesting.
I guess it's based on the movie, right? No, or the book. Is there a book or movie
There's
or
a
both?
book and a play now
And a
that came out of
play.
the movie. It's a Tim Burton film, which you might pick up something there. If you're a Tim Burton
Yeah,
fan,
Tim
you might
Burton
understand
says a
it.
lot about it.
Yeah.
Yes, but it actually recounts the mythical life of Edward Bloom and the bedtime stories he tells his son Will, which are incredible. Edward is facing his own mortality while Will is determined to separate fact from fiction and understand who his father truly is before it's too late.
Yeah.
So, as Johnny Rocket said, it's set in Alabama, and you know, Big Fish celebrates the power of storytelling and Southern charm while exploring the complexities, amen, right,
Yeah.
of the relationship between a father and a
That's
son.
right.
It's
a father-son
it's complicated.
story.
It is.
And I am really intrigued on how they're going to put Big Fish together as a musical, because it's going to be really, really intriguing, I think, to see how it all falls out. They put it together, because the movie is interesting, and I'll say that it's intriguing. I love the movie. I think it's kind of cool, but it's different. It's different.
Yeah, the father-son relationship is very interesting to me. We'll just say. It is, like we said, it's complicated, but you know what, Johnny? I wanted to just make a little statement to you. You know, here's what people don't always realize. The Bearfield College of Arts and Sciences, you know, touches almost everything. Speaking of great things in our community.
Well, that's so right. From the lab bench to the main stage to the policy table.
That's right. You've got researchers studying advanced materials, environmental systems, nutrition, physics.
Yeah, and while down the hall, someone's rehearsing a performance, they're analyzing literature, maybe they're translating global research into real world impact.
That's the power of arts and sciences. You know, it's not just one discipline. It's actually the foundation for all of them.
That's right. And guess what? Employers know it. Critical thinking, communications, analytical skills, that's the Bearfield College DNA.
So if your student wants flexibility, opportunity, and a launch pad for leadership,
well, you start real simply. artsandsciences.ua.edu.
The Bearfield College of Arts and Sciences. It's built for what's next. And as always, roll tide and roll research.
Amen.
Heck, you got that right. Okay, Johnny, you know how we love supporting local businesses, especially ones that have been part of our community for years.
Oh, absolutely. And that comes to mind our great friends Hudson Pool, because they're a perfect example of
That's
small
right.
business.
Yes, and don't forget Father's Day is coming up, and Hudson Pool is a family-owned, trusted, and right here in downtown Tuscaloosa.
And you know, when you walk in, you see friends, because they actually will take time with you.
That's true. You know, they do take the time. They educate you, they guide you, and they make sure you love what you choose.
Well, that's the difference, because it's not just a purchase. It's an experience at Hudson Pool.
You got that right. From engagement rings to repairs, they do it all.
So go visit our friends at Hudson Pool at 1111 Greensboro Avenue in beautiful downtown T-Town, or you can go online at hudsonpool.com for the great service. I'll get that out one of these days.
You got it, Johnny Rocket. So the moral of the story is, y'all, shop local and shine brighter.
And tell them that the Noon Show sent you.
Yeah, and shout out. I saw the coolest picture on Facebook of Krista, where she had helped this lady. I mean, worked with her for a week, and the lady was giving this testimonial. They got it right. I mean, she was so pleased.
Well, they do it. 41
really
years
do.
almost.
They've been doing it.
41 years.
They do it over and over. That is right. But guys, we need to go to break, so we'll go pay some bills. When we come back, we've got Dr. Andrew Billings and some sports talk coming up. You've been listening to The Noon Show on FM 100.1. Don't go away. We will be here right back.
And welcome back to the Noon Show right here
Hi.
on FM 100.1. This is the home of fun radio. We're so glad you're with us. Thank you for listening no matter where you are. We're in Tuscaloosa, West Alabama, or somewhere across the nation. And we have got an interesting, intriguing guest today.
Yes, and we love to roam, but again, there's no place like home.
Absolutely.
Right. So, guys, our guest today is Dr. Andrew Billings. He's the Associate Dean for Faculty in the College of Communication and Information Sciences at the University of Alabama. He also just happens to be the Ronald Reagan Chair of Broadcasting, co-director of the Beyond Sports Initiative, and one of the most published sports media scholars in the world. His work has explored everything from the Olympics and ESPN to social media, identity, and the ways that sports influence our culture. He has authored 27 books, published more than 300 scholarly works, and his research has been cited more than 13,000 times. What have I been doing, y'all?
Oh my
He
goodness.
has been interviewed by major outlets, including ESPN, the New York Times, and the Associated Press. Dr. Andrew Billings, a.k.a. Andrew, welcome to the News Show studio.
Very glad to be here. I'm excited.
Well,
I am
we're
too.
honored.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Angela Billings. Thank you so much for introducing us to your hubby.
Absolutely. No, she did the show a few months ago and had a ball. So
Yeah, well, we were
she sends
reading
her
your
best.
background, and I mean, wow, what an experienced and exciting career. This has to be an exciting career you've been
It's
involved.
been really fun, and I think for a lot of people, they think is that really a job to study sports media?
I
and
question
things?
whether I'm even cool enough to be in the same studio with you,
Oh,
honestly.
no.
And-
It was always something where I thought that seems to be the common thread, the
Yeah.
common part of the conversation, and been doing it for about 30 years, and it's only seen more so. Everything else is fragmented. Everyone else is listening to different music or watching a different TV show at a different time on a different streaming service. The big game's still the big game.
Yeah.
That is right. And you are able to come up with a lot of these major takeaways because you actually researched the subject. So for someone hearing, Andy, the term sports media scholar for the first time, what exactly do you study and why should the average person care?
Yeah. In my elevator pitch, I basically say, I study sports when they're not just about sports. And keep in mind, I'm a sports fan. I will watch. I'm not the face painter sports fan, but I'm highly interested. But what I'm really interested in is kind of the through line that go through those issues, whether that's issues of gender, of race, of nationality. Did a book a couple of years ago on mental health. How do we tell those stories within sports? How do those unfold differently? So I often look at the content and say, okay, what's this content conveying to the masses? But quite often then I'll talk to the people producing the content, say, what was your intention here? What were your decisions that you made?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to jump right into this. I don't want this to get, I don't want to fall by the wayside. So you worked with Bob Costas, or you interviewed him for a book, and he introduced you to a lot of key people at NBC who were involved with the Olympic telecast. This sounds fascinating to me. Will you tell our listeners more about that?
Yeah, no. I was very fortunate to meet Bob simply because, my students came in. I was teaching at Clemson University at the time in South Carolina. My students came in and, they asked, who do you think is the greatest sportscaster working today? And I said Bob Costas, and they said, well, his son goes here.
Oh,
And so
Hello.
that seemed to
Hi.
be the opening. I'm like, I didn't know that. And so I reached out to Bob's representatives and said, hey, what if you're ever in town and willing to talk with a class, we'd love to have you. And sure enough, they called the next day and said, we're coming in a few months. We'd love to do this. And Bob has been consistently supportive of my work to this day. And so I can still count on him.
That's great.
And basically, we had that event, and I said, is there any way I could do a book on the Olympic telecast? And, there's people who know you, and then there's people who will vouch for you. And I was very fortunate that Bob would vouch for me to the point that everyone at NBC said, we're on board, we'll support this.
Pretty good deal to have a partner like that.
that's
it
right.
has helped,
It's
and
all about
we've
the
stayed in touch.
relationships. Yeah, it's all about the relationships.
And leading to, what kind of insights did you gain from Bob, number one, and two, from your work on covering the Olympics and researching the Olympics? What kind of insights did you gain from him first?
Well, I mean, from him, we start talking about what goes on in Olympic telecast and then what decisions you make. So he's highly scripted, and sees, saw his role as a traffic cop, get you from point A to point B.
Okay.
But then the other broadcasters, it was much more spontaneous, and it was much more about, okay, what aspects do I highlight? Basically, whenever something happens, if you're watching a football play,
Okay.
you've got, you could comment on the line blocking, you could comment on the quarterback, maybe he throws it to the wideout, you could talk about the defense coverage. You've got to choose which story you're going to tell. And
That makes sense, yeah.
Right? And
Sure.
so really what the first book that I did with him was about was which stories you tell. And do you tell men's stories in the same way that you tell women's stories? Do you describe men athletes in the same way as women? Do you describe U.S. athletes in different ways than non-U.S. athletes? Is there an us, them? Some things there. And so those are the types of questions I get into, is how much is giving the audience what it wants, and how much is thinking you're kind of a time capsule Olympic telecast. If someone were to look back at this years later, would they say this is too American or too focused on men or things like that?
And I assume producers and directors are having to make pretty quick decisions on that coverage. And did you learn, are there differences in the way different groups are covered?
There are differences, but those also have changed over time. So, for instance, when I first started analyzing the Olympic telecast in the 1990s, every single time in those 1990s, there were significantly more comments on the attractiveness of the females. And then those went away. And then it was less about that. So, we have, do you talk about their composure more or their strength?
That had to be a
more,
long
things like
time
that.
ago, Andy, I would think. I mean, that
We had comments back in the 90s where they
in the 90s?
yeah, like in the 90s where you'd call a gymnast, well, they're easy on the eyes and things like that. You're like, okay, would you
Okay.
really?
You can't do that now.
No. And so things
Okay.
have changed over time.
Yeah.
Used to be that men got the majority of the coverage. Now it's almost 50-50, slightly more female lately because the U.S. women have done a little bit better than the men. So it tends to sync up with who wins the medals now.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible.
In terms of international versus U.S., has there been a change in the balance in that?
The amount they show, no.
Okay.
They if you look at what in a Summer Olympics, the U.S. usually wins 11 to 13% of the medals, and they get about 4 times that coverage. They get about 45%, and then all other nations get the 55%. That's also good programming. I mean, if you tuned in and only saw Americans compete 11% of the time, you're not going to be as drawn in. That's just natural.
That's a great point, yeah.
But the way they're described still is interesting because we have a lot of the intangibles that we describe American athletes with, the composure, the courage, things like that. And the foreign athletes were more likely to be described with things that were objective. You talk about their strength, their height, their speed. Those are things you can measure on a stopwatch or a ruler, whatever you want there. And I think that's partly because you don't get to know those foreign athletes as well. And there are language barriers to getting to know them.
What an interesting analysis, Andy. I think that's fascinating. So we need to remind our listeners, you do research on all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you do research on sports media. Is that
Yes.
social media or all media?
It certainly can include social media. So I've done work there as well too. But basically we are always trying to, at Alabama, we're trying to think of what's next. There's the famous quote that is ascribed to a number of people. I'm going to say Wayne Gretzky says, you don't skate where the puck is, you skate where it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Oh.
we're constantly, when we have the Beyond Sport initiative, we're trying to think what problems need to be solved in the next few years.
What is a Beyond Sport initiative exactly?
Yeah, so that is a cluster of researchers that work with industry leaders. And we have events and produce reports and then solve different puzzles. So people can hire us out to say, hey, can you help Can you help, provide insight on this?
Is that just at the university or connected with other universities?
That is just at this university.
Okay.
We just had our summit in April. So you had industry leaders. Our keynote, for instance, was Mark Shapiro, who oversees TKO, which was overseeing the UFC fights at the White House this weekend.
Oh my!
Oh
goodness.
my!
So we're fortunate. His wife is an Alabama grad. He likes coming here. But yeah, we work with those people, and then we have those conversations. What do you need to know? What do you need to know now?
Once again,
yeah.
the University of Alabama is
Look
the
at
middle
that.
of everything.
Yes.
So you're partnering with them, and you're
Wow.
helping to answer some questions. Is what it sounds like. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Or-
Right. You know,
That's
so
incredible.
for
Like,
instance, right
what types of
now,
questions do they have? I guess would be what I want to know.
one thing that I was just working on with a colleague here recently that we're planning to advance soon is a new measure for sports gambling addiction. Because certainly sports gambling has become mainstream, even in states like Alabama where it's not yet legal. I think it might be legal here soon, but even there, people use VPNs and all sorts of ways there.
Mm.
And so trying to come up with a way to diagnose not just whether you're addicted, but why. Some people, they're addicted because they're sensation seekers. Some are addicted because they're media dependent. They constantly want a reason to watch the Falcons and the Jaguars play on Thursday night when they're Chicago Bears fans, and that
Yeah.
gives them that. So we're trying to find different ways to explore, the issues in sports to
That's
really
fascinating.
learn more about society.
I'm glad there are folks like you around. This is really intriguing.
Andy, we're going to have to go to break, but guys, when we come back, we're going to talk to Andy a little bit more about sports addiction overall, I
Sure.
think, if that's okay with
Sure.
you. Guys, you've been listening to The Noon Show on FM 100.1. Don't go away. We will be here right back. Okay, so
And welcome back to the
Yeah.
Noon Show right here on FM 100.1, streaming everywhere by going to thenoonshow.com and hitting listen now. And thank you for always being so faithful and being part of our little family.
yes, thank you so much. But Johnny, you've been with Bryant Bank for a long time, haven't
Well,
you?
yes, I have almost 21 years
Oh,
to be
yeah.
exact, when they first opened the doors.
What that kind of loyalty, it really says something.
Well, it does. You don't stay somewhere long unless they treat you right every single time.
So is that what's kept you there all these years?
Yeah, consistency. Friendly people, professionals, helpful service, and they always take time to make sure you understand everything.
Well, that kind of trust is actually hard to find these
Well,
days.
unfortunately, that's true. But once you have it, you just don't want to lose it.
That peace of mind really matters.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. And you can visit Bryant Bank in any one of their beautiful locations, North River, Northport, and beautiful downtown T-Town, or online at bryantbank.com.
And remember, Bryant Bank is an equal housing lender and a member of
FDIC.
Go see our friends at Bryant Bank today.
Okay, Andy, you brought up a point. So there are people who are addicted to gambling, sports gambling, but there are also, you alluded to this as well at the same time, there are people addicted to watching sports, and I've known one or two of those people. Expand on that thought a little bit for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly people who are obsessed with it, but I think a lot of it, we're still looking for common conversations. We're still looking for things that we can collectively share. And we have fewer of those now. It's great that we have all these streaming services. It's great that we have all these options. But as a result, you have fewer things that the whole family sits and watches in the same room at the same time. And there's a liveness to it. We can't time shift sports, or very rarely can you time shift sports. That makes it very appealing to people because it's the conversation to have now. You can't go to church on Sunday after the Bama football game and say, "Don't tell me who won, I'm watching it later."
No.
But everything else, you can say, "Well, I haven't seen Disclosure Day at the theater yet," or whatever it is. And so you don't have that conversation. People are looking for that. They're looking for some common thread at the party that you and I can have that conversation. That's always been what sports can be.
It's something that really helps people to bond. They find their clan, so to speak. You see the crimson and white. You're one of my people. But the sports talk people here, Tide 100.9. Shout out to every single one of you. Their studio is right across the hall. I've said this forever. I say that sports talk radio is basically soap opera for men, and I think that falls into the same category as what you're saying. What's interesting is it seems that they have a lot of regular callers. Maybe they have some callers that don't call in every day, but they obviously know a certain amount of their callers, and they have certain expectations. There's one caller that happens to be a neighbor of Johnny's. He won something, and the guy, the broadcaster gave Johnny the prize to go deliver it to the neighbor. What do you think accounts for that? Why do people want to rehash the talk? Is probably for the same reasons you just described, but we're still living it. We're still living it over sports talk radio, for example.
Yeah, no, we are, and once again, it's because we have decades and generations of this too, so you can make comparisons in the way that you don't for other things. So I think for most people, if your grandparents watched TV growing up, it wasn't the same shows. Maybe Meet the Press, it's still on, but everything else has changed so much. But the Crimson Tide's still the Crimson Tide,
and they're gonna roll.
And you expect, even decades later, when you're with your grandkids, that they will still be there. And so there's this. It's a never-ending soap opera in a way that what Grey's Anatomy might be in season 20 or something like that. But
Great analogy.
But eventually that's going to go away at some point. Not now. Don't worry.
True.
I'm not breaking any news.
True.
But eventually,
that's the cold hard truth. I'm sorry, but we don't know when. So don't come for us.
We don't expect Grey's Anatomy to be around for season 42. We do expect
Crimson Tide to be around.
the Tide to be around and still playing football, basketball, all this kind of stuff. And there's something comforting for people.
They're a reliable constant for all of us.
Let me go to the other side of the coin.
Sure.
Let's talk about sports talk radio in general as an industry.
Mm-hmm.
What is the status of it today? What is the attitude towards sports talk radio? What is the environment like today? Has it changed? I'm sure it's changed over years because it's grown so rapidly. Let's look at the status of it and what it's like today.
Yeah. So I mean, it's always been popular, but especially when rights fees have gone up substantially for the actual games, the appeal is an economic one for programming sports talk radio. So what you had decades ago, you had to be the home of something. You had to be the place for the Atlanta Braves or for the Crimson Tide or whatever it is. And that's what made people learn what station you were on. Now, a lot of your programming can be talk. You don't need media rights for that. You just need people who are willing to have the conversation. So it's cheaper programming. You certainly build it around debates. You make it a little bit more controversial. It's a little too hot takey for me. Where constantly you're looking for something outside of the box, just saying, LeBron had a decent game last night does not win the day. You want to be first, best, or different. Only one person can be first. Only one can be best. Everyone else is competing for different.
You mentioned before we started the show, the package, the $350 million package that Stephen Smith and Pat have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the money is enormous.
Yeah.
And it looks like to me that I don't understand that, quite frankly. I mean, there's talk radio everywhere, especially sports, but the value of it appears to just be growing astronomically.
Well, you're looking for someone or something that can break through. And so for the exact reason you state that it's everywhere, you're looking for, who is a personality that can draw people in mass that will move the needle. So what ESPN saw decades ago was people tuned in for Sports Center. They didn't really tune in or tune out depending on who was hosting. We had a little bit of Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann in the 90s that people would especially tune in for their Sunday
This is over
sports.
20 years ago, Andy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we,
But that's
we,
changed.
we found a lot of those hosts are
Mm.
interchangeable. If you want Sports Center, you watch Sports Center. You don't say, "Oh my gosh, the wrong host's on tonight. I'm going to change the channel."
Okay.
But the people who can break through, the Stephen A's, the Pat McAfee's, those are people that heavy users will tune in every single day. And the way people, especially in the South, will tune in for Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah.
They move the needle.
Yeah.
And that
They're
justifies
able to move
expense.
the needle, and maybe part of the point of the answer to that question would be they have that certain, as a French would say, je ne sais quoi. You can't really define it. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Because how does this one random person just amazingly just appeal to people en masse?
Right.
We can't define it. That's the answer.
And what does it say about us?
Because they've got
as consumers?
it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
What does it
Yeah.
say about us as consumers?
Mm.
I mean, that's
That
got to
we-
be an interesting research study.
That
Great question.
you know, that we like talk radio, or that we like Stephen A, or the
Both.
controversial.
Well, I can
Yeah.
understand liking talk radio. To your point earlier, it's one of those common denominators for a
Sure.
lot of us. But when these individuals, like the McAfees and Smiths
Right.
and Feinbaum, what does it say about us?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, we certainly have gotten more combative with talk radio. It always has to be a debate. You know, we always had a debate that, you know, if you had a slow day, decades ago, you could always be like, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Or you know, should Native American mascots be banned? Or, you know, whatever it was. But now everything's a debate. And I think that feeds into our hyper political culture. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it feeds into everything. You've got to have a take, and it's got to be big.
Yeah, culture is such as we got to be on one side or the other, and
Right.
we got to take a position and debate it till
Right.
You know,
you
whatever.
you can be a fan of Michael Jordan. You can be a fan of LeBron. Most people say you can't call them both the greatest. You got to choose sides.
Well,
Yeah.
in stark contrast to some of these really famous personalities, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna drop a bomb here. AI.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to be changing every single industry, Andy. So how do you see AI affecting sports media over the next decade?
Well, you know, honestly, we've been working with a couple, with a team and with a league. So the NBA is looking at that with a lot of their social media content, trying to figure out how do people respond to AI generated content. Are they going to see it as less authentic, less engaging? Anything that's remotely equal.
AI can't sit there and do what Pat McAfee does, though. It can't sit there and do what our hosts across the hall do, though.
Oh, no.
Ever. Not really.
No, well, I don't think so. You know, we do have our first AI actress, Tilly Norwood, I think is her name.
Oh, dear.
And you can hire her to be in a film.
And she's marvelously interactive, and she has human emotions, and
Apparently, I have not watched anything
I don't
that she
know,
has done.
okay.
But, you know, she's got an agent. You can hire her out, and so we certainly can put those things in. What I find right now, at least, is AI is particularly bad at generating content for sports, because sports are temporary, because they change on a dime. You know, you could ask, you know, who should I start in my fantasy lineup in week 9, and they'll suggest someone who got injured and is out for the year in week 7, because they're just it's glossing everything, and it can come up with something highly inaccurate.
Yeah.
So right
Sure.
now, the short-term nature of sports really precludes AI being
However,
mainstream.
to Lisa's point, AI could script the talk show host.
Sure.
They could get that, and that to me looks like it would be kind of dangerous.
No, it could
Well-
be, but you know, you two could have just typed into AI, what
Yeah.
questions should I'm interviewing Andrew Billings today.
Yeah.
What questions should I ask?
Sure, that makes
and I
sense.
guess 80 to 90% of those would probably be highly accurate, but there might be one where you're like, it's
Okay, well,
it's
most-
creating a work I haven't done, or whatever it is.
But
There.
most of the talk show hosts, they're not scripted. I mean,
No,
it's
they're
all-
not
It's all
scripted.
ad lib.
that is correct. And Johnny, don't forget the sports talk people we have talked to.
Oh yeah,
They work an incredible number of hours,
just
and
to
they
learn.
all seem to have a mind like a steel trap.
They really do.
I mean, we had one of them give us stated the years. We couldn't stump him. And it's just incredible and marvelous. And I
Yeah.
just don't know how. And yes, I understand computers remember things, blah, 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 but they can't. are they gonna sit there and argue with a caller? You know, AI
They
can't
love
do that.
They can't. Yeah, AI can't
Those
do that.
callers do that. They dig in and they handle it marvelously.
But to your point, now what we don't see is the work they're putting in preparing for that next talk show.
Sure.
I mean, their study
Yes.
has got to be intense. And to your point,
Right.
they don't seem to ever forget anything.
But Johnny, I was kind of working up to something,
Yeah.
but I'll say all that to say this. And Andy, you said, and you kind of said it too, Johnny. Well, they could help script. You said script, but then they're improv. Okay. What about the person who doesn't have all of that knowledge? They haven't put all of the background work, but they can sit there and maybe they're a great actor. I wonder if that gives an end to some people like that. Maybe someone has the charm and the everyday wit as a Pat McAfee. What do you say about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to be
Maybe
more.
that's a reach.
No, you have to be more than a sports fan. And what we'll get with students at the university a lot is they'll say, "Well, I need to work in sports because I had one student once. I have memorized every batting average of anyone who's ever played for the Boston Red Sox." And my response was, "Well, that's great, but I can also get that information in 2 seconds. What can you offer that the internet or AI or whatever it is cannot?" And so you need to be able to triangulate. You need to be able to have a
Could
way
be.
of twisting a statistic into an
Yeah.
argument.
That
Those
savvy,
kind of
jazzy,
things.
as
Yeah.
I said, je ne sais quoi.
Well, and to Lisa's favorite question, what does it matter if you know them all?
Right.
I mean, what does it matter?
It needs, yeah.
It's just,
'Cause anybody can
again,
look it
it's
up
just
anytime.
conversation.
Well, and I think we all act like we're unique as
I
sports
guess.
fans. And
I
I still
guess.
remember it was eventually worked his way up to president of ESPN. George Bodenheimer, one of his first jobs was driving around the country trying to get people in the 80s to sign up to have ESPN and
Yeah.
cable. And every place he went, they said, "George, you come to the right place because this is a huge sports town." And he started to realize every place
It's a huge.
is a huge
Huge sports town.
Well,
Okay.
when we get
We
back,
do need to go to break. Yeah.
Yeah, when we get back after break, you brought up the word students. I'd like to know a little bit about his work with students and how
Sure.
this matters to our students.
Johnny,
Where are they headed with these career paths?
Sure.
Right. I would like to know that as well. But much of Andy's work also focuses on identity. And I want to know also from Andy when we come back, why do fans often feel such a strong connection to athletes they've never met? You've been listening to the Noon Show on FM 100.1. Don't go away. We will be here right back.
We are having a fascinating conversation today
Yes.
with Andy Billings about the sports media world. And there's so many different ways we can go with this conversation. We're hearing so much today and listening to so many fascinating stories. But one of the things that we both, Lisa and I, have got some follow-up questions. One of them, you mentioned students a minute ago,
Yes.
and working with students. Is there a growing interest in career paths in the sports media world? And how does the university serve those students? How are you interacting?
Absolutely. So a lot of what we've decided to do is sports as a context. And what I mean there is maybe you become a creative media major or a news major or a public relations major, and then you take some sports classes to learn that context. So we still want to make sure that you've got the basics you need to succeed in that given field. And then increasingly, we are triangulating with other colleges, other for instance, working on something with the business school related to sports analytics, and have partnered with ESPN and a number of places where they say, yeah, sure, we'll give you a puzzle and let students work on that and see if they can solve it. So they're getting real world experience there. And of course, in our college, we have the Digital Media Center inside of Bryant Denny Stadium where they can intern, they can volunteer, they can get their own show. They can do a lot of things there. So it's an exciting time to be a student in sports at Alabama.
Great field to be in.
Yeah.
That would be a great
Because
opportunity.
it's not shrinking, is it?
Nope.
No, it's not. But I kind of asked this
Yeah.
before the break. So, Andy, much of your work focuses on identity. What I would like to know is why in the world do fans often feel such a strong connection to athletes that, quite frankly, they've never even met?
Right. No. There's a term called parasocial interaction or even parasocial relationships.
Parasocial. Okay.
Parasocial, and that means exactly what you're saying. They aren't social. You haven't met them, but you feel like you know them, and because of social media, because of so many other YouTube and other outlets, you are getting more access to these athletes than ever before, and that makes them very appealing. There's also this notion of lots of times they seem relatable in a way some other people aren't. I still recall, this is kind of a fun one. In the 1980s, they asked a group of third graders who their heroes were. And the top responses were Michael Jackson, Spider-Man, and God. All right, there's your holy trinity right there.
Okay.
All right. Late 1990s, they asked third graders, and all of a sudden it was Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh.
And so all of a sudden you've gone from a musician, a religious deity, and a superhero to sports.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be cutting through in a way that, they're
Really
people recognize Steph Curry a whole lot more than they recognize a lot of famous TV actors making a lot of big money.
That's it. Can I take it one
Sure.
step further to another level?
Mhm.
Okay. One of the things I've noticed in growing up in Alabama, you're either an Auburn or Alabama fan, period. Okay. What I've really
You have no
noticed
choice.
is the ones who get the most heated, the ones that get really, really into it, are graduates of neither university.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I could not tell you. It is interesting to me that yes, you've got this really, really heated rivalry, but there seems to be some level of mutual respect in that you love your team as much as I love my team. We both love the same thing. We love the football team or the softball team.
And
or
quite
whatever it
frankly,
is.
we may be cousins or brothers and sisters.
Sure.
We could be.
The people that sometimes really get the flack are the ones who are like, I don't understand this appeal
Right,
of the sports
yeah.
world at all.
Shout out to my brother-in-law, Shane Garrett, who will wear a University of Georgia shirt up in my
Sure.
house. Yeah.
Or my wife is not a sports fan, but she's a huge fan if she taught the players.
Okay.
So, there was a year Bama
I
played.
can say that about
There's a
her.
relationship.
Bama played Clemson in
yes.
one of the national title games and scored 6 touchdowns, and all 6 were her students. She
So
was into that game not because of sports, but because of the people.
She knew.
She was rooting for them as
Yeah.
people.
There was
Right.
I've just always
Yeah.
found it funny. The most intense fans did not attend either school.
Yeah.
That always has fascinated me.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Johnny. But Andy, you've spent decades studying sports media. What I would like to know is what findings from your research tends to actually surprise people the most?
Sometimes it's the percentage of coverage that's dedicated in a different direction. So, for instance, when I say, and I haven't done this for a few years, but when I say our sports news shows still have less than 5% of the coverage devoted to women's sports, they're kind of surprised by that. That might have changed with Caitlin Clark here a little bit. You might have gotten a little bit more WNBA, but it's still a real disparity there, and that people, I think, feel like we're making progress, and we are, but it's so small and incremental, except for the Olympics. The Olympics.
Okay, yeah, because I can see that like women's gymnastics. Like, if you have to choose one sport in the Summer Olympics, I'm going to watch gymnastics personally.
Absolutely, but the thing is, a lot of those, whether it's gymnastics in the summer or figure skating in the winter,
yeah,
the audiences go away when it's not the Olympics.
Well, and here's the thing. Well, yeah, and I'm wondering about that, Andy, because they do go away, and it was pointed out to me. Y'all don't come for me. The simple fact of the matter is, it's the men's sports that bring in the money, though.
Yeah,
and so that's part that, and that's just the fact of life, right?
For the most part, that's true. Right. Some things are changing.
Follow the money.
You know, certainly WNBA, they got raises. They probably deserve more. The World Cup soccer team, the women actually have had a higher profile than the men.
Okay, Johnnie and I heard very recently from the president of Stillman College. She was in the studio a few weeks ago. Shout out to Dr. Yolanda Page. Okay, Andy, they have a flag football team starting in the fall. And it sounds like it's actually a part of their actual sports program. And I was talking to somebody later about it, and that is somehow related to the Olympics. So apparently flag football is coming up in the next Olympics. It will be in the
Los Angeles Olympics, yes.
Wow.
Tell us more about that. So is this just men's teams, women's teams? Is it like, what does this look like? What are we headed?
I'll have to check and see. I believe that one's just men's, but maybe there's women's. What I do know is people are assuming.
I was assuming that there was always only women. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know men played flag football.
No,
Maybe
they
that's
do.
Stupid.
They do.
Anyway,
for instance, lots of NFL players said they'd love their chance to get a medal. But recently, some NFL players played some professional flag football players, and the flag football players won the day. Oh. There's, football. Non-flag football is all about collision. And flag football is all about avoiding collision.
Yeah.
And so it's really, it feels more similar than it actually is.
Can I slip in a follow-up question? Because I'm surprised that women's athletic events are not growing in.
They're growing. Yeah. They got a ways to go.
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm not.
Does that apply both college level and professional, I assume?
In general, I was talking about the news shows too, so it's hard to say there. I guess kind of the big myth that I've talked about is once we got streaming and internet and all this, we're like, well, we can cover everything, and we can, but then the main channels, they actually, instead of going broader, they went deeper. So instead of getting different types of sports on ESPN2 or ESPN News, you got more NFL draft coverage.
But
you got
point, it's revenue driven.
Yeah,
this is all revenue driven.
Sure.
It's revenue driven, and I think in general, and don't come for me if I'm wrong, but I just think men prefer they're the ones who want to watch the sports all the time. There are women who do. My mother's best friend does. I'm not saying women don't watch sports. I'm just saying way more men than women watch sports. So they're marketing to their audience too.
There are only two sports in which the majority of the audience is female. And I know we're short on time, so I'll just give them to you rather than guessing. It's the Olympics.
Okay.
And it's the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, well, that's fashion.
Now, there's others that are very close. For instance, 48%.
The Williams sisters.
48% of all NFL fans are women.
That's pretty high.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, once again, to be a fan and a deep fan, I think that might,
that's surprising.
Spread that a little bit more. But yeah, there's some interesting trend lines there. Women will watch sports. And my theory on the Kentucky Derby and the Olympics is for both those, there's not a whole lot of mansplaining. Because you're coming into those stories pretty clean, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, they're athletes that you've never heard of at 7:00 that you'll well up with tears. when they win a medal at 9:30.
That's amazing.
Andy, thank
This
you
has been
so
fascinating.
much for coming to see us. We're going to have you back in the studio.
Absolutely.
We'll put you back on the books. This is probably in the fall. How about that, Roll Tide? So tomorrow on the show, we've got Visit Tuscaloosa. I'm sure we'll be talking about Restaurant
I
Week.
know we will.
And then we got Heather Falls for the Grow and Flourish as our community spotlight guest. Guys, don't forget to spay or neuter your furry friends and keep those tails wagging with up-to-date vaccinations. For Johnnie Aycock, I'm Lisa Jones, signing off for the Noon Show. But before we go, I'd like to wish everyone a splendiferous rest of their day. See you